The Type 63 is probably one of the better to rate premium tanks that Wargaming has released in the last couple of years. Now obviously it is in a gambling draw, which means it is not worth it whatsoever, but for the sake of the video, let's pretend that it's actually sold for a price that's actually fair. Now, this vehicle is very good. Let's have a look and then let's play it. Now, this is the way you can get the Type 63 right here. You need 311 balls.
More balls?
More balls?
The first stage costs 311 balls, and the last stages are pretty much free. However, how do you get an 11 ball, you may ask? Well, that is, you have to go into the shop and play the lottery machine, and that costs quite a lot of money. Now, there are 30 of these balls in here, or 31. I think 31's the highest number, yes. You need 11 balls to get the Type 63. So, yeah, you have a 1 in 31 chance to get an 11 balls. You need an average of 90 of these. And if you look at the 50 cost 95 euros, that means you have to pay an average of, once again, 180 euros to obtain this new vehicle. Never change Wargaming. Well, actually, do change because this is terrible. The tank's great, but this, I don't want to call it a scam. Let's have a look at the stats of the Type 63 compared to the Type 57, the T482, and the awful i6. Now, one thing to remember about premiums and collectors is that unless you're buying the best, you're buying wrong. Because here's the thing, if you buy mediocre to terrible premium tanks, you're pretty much just wasting your money on weak performance, and you're probably also going to have less fun with those vehicles as well, unless there's specialty vehicles like a Caliban or something that do weird stuff. It is never a good idea to buy inferior premium tanks, such as an IS-6. So you want to have the best vehicles of each type to get the maximum of fun for your money. Now, let's have a look. The DPM is 2,180, which is very similar to T4E2, and the alpha damage is as well as 10 higher than T4E2. Now, the DPM on the Type 57 is lower, but it does have 430 alpha damage, which is a big advantage. The penetration is pretty much the same for all of them, and yeah, caliber, stuff like that. Doesn't matter. The shell velocity is above 1,000, and that is all you need in Blitz. If you have a shell velocity of 1,000 and more, you're pretty much going to hit everything that you're trying to aim at. The weapon handling of this vehicle is very good in terms of the aim time, 1.81 seconds. Now, obviously, the T482 has 1.9, and you're not really going to notice the difference in battle, really, but you're definitely going to notice the difference between 1.8 seconds and 3 seconds. So that is a massive advantage right here. Obviously, the Type 57 has a much higher caliber gun. 12 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle right here, which is absolutely excellent. I mean, that is insanely good. I mean, yo, T482 already has 10 degrees, which is really good, but 12 is even more amazing. Obviously, the dispersion is pretty similar to T482. The regular dispersion is slightly worse, but the movement dispersion is slightly better, so you'll end up somewhere at the same value. But you have 2 degrees more gun depression. That is pretty good. Just the mobility. I mean, effective power to weight ratio is 16 compared to 14 on the T482, and the vehicle moves quite nicely, so that is another quite nice advantage that you have here with the vehicle. However, how's the armor look like? It is pretty good, but also quite confusing. Lower plate's a weak spot, duh. The upper plate is 300 millimeters, which is very strong. Now, it does have these side plates, which makes side scraping somewhat impossible because, again, as you turn the tank to the side, these plates become a lot weaker. So if you're trying to side scrape, you're at 200 millimeters. It doesn't quite work. However, the sides are 80 millimeters, so you can side scrape that, but obviously this plate is going to stick out if you're trying to side scrape and you're going to get penned through that, so that doesn't really work whatsoever. The turret is very well armored at the front. It goes up to 340 millimeters if you shoot down from at a slight angle below. If you shoot at from the top, then you're still going to have 280 millimeters, which is going to be very effective. However, there's one slight problem with the turret, and that is normally, if you have 12 degrees of gun depression, you're just going to depress your gun, you hide your lower plate behind a rubble or a hill, and you're pretty much impenetrable. However, this tank has a slight problem. Because it is an oscillating turret, what I assume to be the magazine back here, it does elevate as you depress the gun. And I assume the ammo storage is in here. You can't see the internal modules here yet, but I do assume the ammo's back there, because where else would it be? So the problem is, obviously, this thing elevates if you depress the gun. And this plate back here is 150 millimeters, so it is about 200 millimeters if you shoot at it from the bottom. So if you, let's say you use 9 degrees of gun depression, you're right here. Yeah, look at that. It does stick out pretty badly, and you can get pinned in the back of the turret. So hull down is going to be pretty tricky. You have to keep the vehicle moving at all times. Now, let's get into the first battle with the Type 63. Now, why does it start a minute late? Well, because I still had Spotify open in my browser. By the way, top tip, if you have a browser with an ad blocker, you can listen to Spotify ad-free for free. It's probably the most useful thing I'm going to say in this video, because the rest of it is always going to be the same. Play around cover, wiggle your tank if someone's pointing at you. Don't rush into multiple enemies at the same time. Always, ideally, only have one enemy that has the possibility to shoot you. Like, I'm going to go forward here, and that guy can't shoot me. The Progetto could shoot me, but from here, the ISU can't shoot me because he's behind the rock, and the Skoda can't shoot me because he's now running away, and now here's the ISU. So I'm not really going to do any revolutionary things here. I'm just going to drive past this guy and not hit him. It's always the same, right? Hide your lower plate, wiggle your tank. With this thing, especially because obviously the turret sticks out at the back if you depress your gun, so that's going to be very important. But generally, the things that you need to get ahead of all other players are very simple. You just have to consistently do them. Check the minimap. Don't do dumb peeks. Don't try to fight multiple tanks at the same time. That never works pretty much. You always want to have one tank that you focus on. Like right now, it's the MX-50 100 that I'm focusing on. I know he's not looking at me, so I can peek the AMX, right? Because the AMX drove, like, this guy peeked. So there you go. Now I look at the Skoda. The Skoda's the only tank that could shoot me here. Now he drives past. I know the Skoda can't shoot me from where he is. So I can peek the AC again. So all those kind of things that are pretty simple that you do in pretty much every tank, ideally, that you can just do with this one as well. Now, this vehicle, I think, it is one of the very few tanks that are genuinely worth getting once they're in the shop for a good price. Like, I would never, ever recommend a new release vehicle in gambling. I'm not crazy.
I'm really just rude, or German, but then I repeat myself.
And, I mean, I did it a few times back in the day, but now 180 euros is a lot of money for not a lot of reward, because I don't think it's better than a TF4A2, but it's pretty much on the same level as something like a TF4A2, and 8 to 10,000 gold is a good price for this, but no more than that. No tank is worth 180 euros unless you're maybe a little bit insane, but yeah, don't do that. So I definitely think this is a good vehicle. I'm kind of liking it as well. Like, this is the first battle I'm playing, and it does work quite nicely. I mean, 3.3k damage is not too bad at all. But at this point, here's the K2. Here's another thing. If you have a K2, and you could have gotten it for free, like last year, I believe, why would you purchase any other Soviet heavy tanks? Because they all kind of play the same. Like, always get the best tank that you can, ideally. Why would you buy the trash? Alright, let's get into another battle, and obviously because this vehicle has 12 degrees of gun depression, playing it on a flat city would make the entire thing entirely pointless, but that wouldn't stop the majority player from doing that anyway. So, let's obviously get this quite speedy tank. I mean, it goes up to 44 kilometers an hour pretty much, 41, 42. So, let's get this thing over here and use the 12 degrees of gun depression right here in the middle. Oh, someone just fell over. You see that? Well, if you didn't see that, then you gotta pay attention to your surroundings in Blitz, because I knew that guy was there before he was even spotted, because he knocked over the sandbags. If you pay attention to your environment, like for example knocked over sandbags and trees, you can find tanks that you can't even see. So, what I'm gonna do here, I mean, look at this, 12 degrees of gun depression. I can just, look at this, I can just sit here. So, this is very good, and it's probably one of the few tanks in recent times that came out that I would actually recommend purchasing if it comes into the shop for a real price. Obviously, don't get me wrong, it is a good tank, but do not buy it in its current state ever, because it's in gambling. And the only person that wins, well, the only thing that wins if you buy a gambling crate is Wargaming. Look at that, bounced off. You gotta hit the back here. If you hit the front of the turret, then nothing's gonna happen. It's damn thick. The Star WT there. Yeah, look at that. 12 degrees of gun depression. Pretty much play any hill that exists and do it well. Okay. It's not slow like a Kranwagen would be, either. So. Yeah, well, Action X is dead. It's another vehicle that should make use of its gun depression, but doesn't. So So it kind of saddens me to see so many players with heavy tanks and good gun depression not make use of that and just simply play in the city because they think heavy tanks belong in the city, which no, heavy tanks belong where they're most useful. Every tank belongs where it's most useful. So, and unless you're playing a VK90 or a mouse, it's pretty much never the city. Alright. Focus on Juto as well, because he's got a lot of meat on him, and I like that. Now that he... T25 missed the MX Defender somehow, so I'm going to cross here. Obviously, it's a little bit dangerous because that guy's still there. But I want to go in here and take control of this position. I know I might get shot here, but now I can control this guy, who isn't very smart at hiding himself. And I can also now control the Juto, because I have this position here, and also the next one, which I might take if I had the T49 move his rear. But just pen him straight through the turret because he's a weak little boy, and he's making a worse mistake even as well. And the T49 missed, that's great, which is more damage for me. So, here we go. 2,200. It is a pretty damn good tank. It works quite well. Alright. And there is more, because this is a vehicle that seems to be actually very enjoyable. And let's do another one, because this thing is quite a lot of fun to play. I mean, it pretty much is what I like in a tank. Gun depression, fast, third armor. That's what I like about a tank, so it is kind of nice. But let's see what we can do here. Obviously, I wouldn't go over there. The thing that annoys me about the map selection is that everyone always forgets how to play maps, and then when the maps rotate back in, nobody knows how to play the maps, and sometimes there are terrible metas that develop on maps that aren't supposed to be that way. But, yeah, that's just how it is. Look at that, I have 12 degrees of gun depression. I do not have to worry about anything right here. The Bizonte, I can pen his turret, somewhat. I can aim, that is. I can just play this position. Don't have any weird auto-reloading cuck shells or weird gun thing. It's just a regular, good gun right here. Parts in red are difficult to penetrate. Well, I know that, Wargaming, but it seems that the tutorial, as easy as it is, it doesn't actually stick with the majority of players anyway. Okay, let's go forward because this side is getting pushed. I don't even need to look at the enemies here because I can just see the arrows and how big the arrows are, so I know how many and how close they are. So I don't even need to look at the minimap for that even. Just look at the arrows and how many guys are around you and how big of a threat they are. So let's see what we can do here. One medium's already dead. Obviously that Löwe is, I don't know, busy waxing himself. So it's not going to be much help here, but we don't need him right now because we're going to do just fine. Next target's the ET-15. I mean, it could be if the STA peeks me, I'm going to get shot here. So I'm going to have the STA shoot me, and now I can shoot the AT. STA is going to reload about now. So you have to be careful. 15 gets a kill. It's a pretty scary tank to fight head on, so I don't want to do that. So 1,700 damage block. This is a little decrease in the terrain here, so you can use that and use the third armor. Like a shot there. And now am I gonna turn back? I would like to jump over there onto the STA, but he does have some form of backup, which is not fun. So, well, actually, I'm gonna just do it. I'm just gonna do it because I can allow myself to do it. There we go. Goodbye. Now I'm equal in hit points with the STA. He does have more DPM than me. That's gonna be a problem, but I'm just gonna go for it and try it out because what I can do is I can take a shot and he's gonna miss and the Löwe is gonna come in anyway. Well, that's a bit boring, but it is a pretty damn good tank. So honestly, a lot of battles are probably gonna be boring because if you know what you're doing, it is gonna dominate a lot of battles. However, if you know what you're doing, you're also never gonna buy into a dumbass draw. So that said, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one.